Now we're rolling.
Okay.
How are you doing today, Aida?
I'm doing okay.
Just okay?
Just okay. I don't know. Today is kind of like an okay day.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's better than bad, right?
It is. It is.
From the things that you sent me on Facebook, it sounds like you've had worse days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna move that mic slightly closer.
Okay.
Is that comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, you sent me a message on Facebook saying that you wanted to share your story because you were a war survivor and you came to the United States not knowing how to speak any English whatsoever.
Correct.
And I was like, yeah, I want to talk to you. That sounds very interesting. So,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that and where you're from originally, and then we'll get into like why you came to the United States.
All right. So I was born in Bosnia.
Can you move? I'm sorry. Can you move closer to the mic?
Okay. I was born in Bosnia. It used to be Yugoslavia before the war.
Okay.
And when I was 10 in 1992, that's when the war started. And I grew up in a nice family. My dad was a businessman. My mom worked. She comes from a well-off family, and we had everything you can ever imagine. And then just one day, everything changed.
What changed?
The war started, and it felt like it happened out of nowhere. In Bosnia, we have three main religions. There's Orthodox, Catholics, there's Christians, small percentage of Jewish and Muslims. And during ex-Yugoslavia, everybody got along great. Nobody really paid attention to religion. You can just practice whatever you want and do whatever you want. And when the war happened, that's when it was kind of like a separation of religion.
What inspired the war? What was it religious based?
It was religious based. It was based on taking over Bosnia. Bosnia was had like a mixture of religions, but majority was Islam. And then in ex-Yugoslavia, you have Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Albania. So those are like a little states.
Okay.
And the war was to separate and for each to become a country instead of all being Yugoslavia. And Serbia wanted to expand. And so it was mainly attack on Muslim people, and the plan was to kind of just ethnically cleanse
Wow.
Bosnia. So yeah.
So when the war broke out, how old were you?
10.
You were 10.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what was that like being a 10-year-old? I mean, obviously you're living like a normal what you assumed was a normal life and didn't really have any fears.
Right.
Any known fears.
I remember we were home and we heard the first bombs or grenades go off. And we were just like, what the heck, Everybody in a building where we lived started to panic and telling people to go down in a basement. So we all went down in a basement. And it felt surreal, like you're sitting there as a child and it's just kind of like, this is going to go away in a couple of days type of thing. You don't believe it's going to, be that horrible because you know all these people, you have your neighbors and, we're all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It just started getting worse and worse.
Oh, that's got to be so scary.
It was.
I just recently had a person on the podcast whose parents were, and she's from Ukraine too, but her parents are from Ukraine, and they had a bomb drop right in. I'm sorry, hold on. We're gonna pause for just a second, and we're back. Okay, so yeah, I had somebody on the podcast that they escaped Ukraine, and they talked about the horrors of the war, and they talked about they had a bomb drop right in the front yard, and it didn't go off, and it was one of the most scariest things that they had ever experienced. And at that point, they realized that they needed to escape Ukraine and try to seek asylum here in the United States. So, at what point during that war did your family decide that we need to leave the country or we need to try to get out of here?
Sadly, it wasn't until after the war. We couldn't go anywhere. It just keeps getting worse. Like the grenades were more frequent. People are starting to really panic. Buildings are being destroyed, and you can kind of feel in your soul, okay, this is starting to get worse. Something is about to happen. So I remember we were in our house apartment, and next thing I know, I just heard like a glass, smashed, and my ears were ringing. And I'm screaming, and my mom telling her, I can't hear. Didn't realize that they were, bombing our building, and there was like the glass that was falling. And I remember my mom like telling me, to be quiet because there were like snipers nonstop. So we realized we weren't safe in our town, and we decided to wait till it was later in the night and try to get to my mom's grandparents' house because they're more isolated in a country. My grandpa had lots of property around him, so there was no neighbors for miles and miles, and maybe it'll be a little bit safer. And we were still kind of naive under the influence that this is going to be like maybe a couple of weeks. We can just hide out over there, and then everything is going to go back to normal, But like I said, it just kept getting worse and worse. So we made it to my grandparents' house, and we also took a lot of our neighbors with us. And we were there for a while. The neighbors ended up leaving and going, finding their families. And one breakfast morning, we were at they had 3 houses on the property. We were in one of the houses eating breakfast, and I remember my grandma coming and screaming, telling us we're surrounded and we need to get out. And I remember, as a child, you ask me what do you think as a child, I remember like I didn't eat breakfast. Like I'm hungry and I didn't eat breakfast. So of course we came down and we were surrounded by soldiers. It was only 4 of them, but they were acting like there was more. And the sad part was, it was the people we knew.
Whoa.
It was the people that used to work, the grandchildren of the people that used to work for my grandpa. The people that my grandpa helped out, fed, gave pieces of land to build their homes. And I remember my grandma looking at them, asking them how they can do this. You just in disbelief that war mentality, how it changes people, and you go from friends to enemies so quick. It's amazing. It's just like a switch,
Yeah.
Like one day you're sitting together, you're celebrating each other holidays, and and next day you're looking at the person across to you who is pointing a gun, So we were there. It was hot summer day. I do remember that. It was July, I believe. And they were just telling us that they're going to kill us. So prior to that, they took my dad, my uncle, and the men of the family to concentration center or whatever it's called.
Like a camp, like a concentration camp.
And we didn't know where they were, but my grandpa was with us, and my brother, who was only 4 years older, so he was 14. And then I had like a male cousin who was also 14. So they were just, threatening to shoot us, to kill us, to bury us alive. And like I said, I remember just sitting there. It was hot. I'm thinking I'm hungry because I didn't eat breakfast. At the same time, I'm scared. Don't know what's going on. Everything was moving so slow, like you're in a slow motion. You just sit there and watch this all develop, and you have no idea what's going to happen. One of the soldiers took my aunt, who was a beautiful lady, beautiful lady, and he took her in the house. And next thing we know, she started screaming. And her mom went inside and kind of grabbed the soldier by his throat and threatened him because, he was about to rape her. And luckily, he backed off. So they loaded us up on my uncle's truck. My uncle was in hiding because he was younger. And as we were leaving my grandpa's property, the place where we spent every summer, faithfully, because my dad was a busy man, my mom was a busy lady, my aunt and my uncle, so we would all be there, all the cousins. Those are all my memories, really. Like the favorite place, the safest place to go is always Grandpa's house. And as I can see, we turn around and the houses are burning up. Wow. And they didn't let us take anything. We begged, like some clothes, maybe some money. No, they just end up, as we were sitting outside for hours and hours, some of them were already inside taking the stuff and,
Oh my gosh.
So, and then we were on a truck and they stopped us in this little town next to the property where my grandparents live. And they were just calling us names, spitting on us, and telling us they're going to bury us alive. That's it. My cousin had epilepsy where she would just start running. So she's up in the back of the truck trying to jump out. They wouldn't give her water. They were just saying, you don't need it. You're about to be buried alive. Until one of the soldiers from somewhere recognized that aunt who helped him back in the day, and he took us. Wow. In the last moment, literally.
Whoa.
As they were telling us how we're about to get off the truck and either get executed or whatever, they're just making all these threats. And he hid us in a house for a while till he told us we had to try to go to the Bosnian army side one night because they're coming to kill us. He cannot protect us anymore. So yeah.
What's I might have missed it in the story, but what side of the war, or what side was the guys that you guys knew that was in the army that took you guys?
They were Catholics, Christian Catholics. I'm not sure what religion. My family is Muslim.
Okay.
And
so they took you guys because you were Muslim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they wanted to, like I said, they wanted to expand. It's sad because it's like they just look like they were brainwashed at that point.
Yeah.
And it just happened, like I said, out of nowhere because we were such a great country. We celebrated each other holidays and went to weddings and parties and events, and just nobody really gave a thought about religion.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you just even care till whatever reason this started happening.
This is the extremist, right?
Right.
That is so crazy. So he ends up taking you to the safe house, and at that point you guys stay there for a while.
Yep.
And then what?
One night he came. Every night they would search the house looking for my brother and his cousin, and to put him in a concentration camp. They took my grandpa, by the way. And my family...
So they took all the men?
They took all the men, left my brother and my cousin, my uncle...
Because they were kids?
Yeah, my uncle was in hiding because they really wanted to get him. And they would come every night looking for my brother and my cousin. And I remember we would hide them under bedding and pillows, and we would sit on them and act like we're just sitting, because every night they would come and they would just search the house, and we will tell them they're not here. And so one night the soldier that kind of helped us well, he did help us out, came and he said, they're coming. They're coming, you gotta go. Like, I can only hold them off for so long, you know. So we got up and started walking towards the territory that now belongs to Bosnian army. And you're walking and you walk in and you walk in at night and all you hear is snipers. Because Bosnia and Herzegovina, I'm in Herzegovina, it's like a lot of mountains and hills. Okay. So it's a perfect place for them to be and just shoot snipers. And I'm holding my mom's hand and bodies are just falling.
Oh my gosh.
Falling, women with babies. You just, like I said, it feels like so unreal. You're waiting to wake up. This cannot be my life, you know. Plus, we're hungry. Now there's no food. And you just keep walking. And my mom just kept telling me, don't look, don't look, don't look. Like, but they're just bodies literally falling. And finally, we crossed over, and my uncle was there. Luckily, he made it safe, and he took us to one of our relatives' house in a basement. There was no electricity by now. There's no water. Everything
was shut off.
Everything was just everything is ruined. All the older buildings and bridges and everything, mosques and churches and everything that ever, meant anything now is just destroyed.
Wow.
So we stayed in the basement for a while, hungry. We literally cooked grass.
Wow.
Literally boiled grass.
How did it taste?
Like grass. Like, I don't know how to explain it, like nothing. Like, you ever had spinach but not put any seasoning or anything?
Yeah.
But the grass is a little bit more bitter.
And
from that on, we couldn't stay hungry anymore. We had to walk over the mountain, literally, to get to a little bit of safer city that we heard there was a little bit more food, and there's UN closer by and a little bit more protected. So now we're walking over the freaking mountain for days while my aunt is 9 months pregnant.
Holy cow.
So, yeah. And we did it, but just the clothes on our back. And this time they released my dad and my uncle and my grandpa. So we're all released together.
They released them?
Yeah, because UN came and looked at the, camps and was like, this is not livable. I mean, it was horrible what they did in there. Horrible.
Did they torture them at all?
Yes.
What kind of things would they do?
Starve them. They would take him outside, make him strip naked, and power wash them with a super cold water.
Oh my gosh.
If you had a family member, one of my cousins wrote a book saying something like, if I translate it loosely, how can I raise a hand at my dad? Like, they would make dad and son fight, or they would rape. There was a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Luckily, besides they kicked in my grandpa's teeth, and they really didn't do like that stuff to my dad and my grandpa and my uncle, but they witnessed it. So when the UN came and they looked at it, and they had to, release them. So now we're in a different city. It's being a refugee in your own country is the saddest thing ever. I get so upset when people are so pumped up about war.
Who gets pumped up about war?
But people do. You go online, you go on a Facebook, and you have people, they're like, we're ready, to have a war. It's a lot of politics, pretty much.
Yeah.
And if they only knew, they would never, ever wish that.
Well, I think it's a very naive perspective, right? Because living here in the United States, I would say 95% of the population has never experienced anything like that. Even if you are poor and you're homeless, and I see homeless people, quote unquote, homeless people on the streets begging for money who have smartphones.
Right.
It's like, we don't have it that bad. People in like foreign countries have it really bad if they're poor.
Right.
And so like we have no idea what war would do to us.
That's exactly what I kind of want to shine the light on. I talked to my son about that a lot. He was born here. He's 19 years old. And I just feel like I'm fighting with the devil here, like the social media is telling them what kind of life they should be living. They're just watching all these videos and think that these 15, 16-year-old kids are millionaires and that's how the life is. It's just, and I try my best to keep him as humble as I can without terrifying them like, oh, because I lived through this. But I also want him to know, so maybe they'll respect it and appreciate it more.
Yeah.
People that are born here don't realize that just being born here, you have an advantage.
Yeah.
That's a big advantage.
Yeah.
And it angers me when people don't take advantage of the situation to better themselves. Maybe because I come from a family where my dad, was an achiever, and I had a good, strong family. But it just angers me. I don't know how to explain. I came here no English. So now I'm 16 years old. Came here with the shoes 2 size smaller, literally. Nothing. We had no bags. They put us in this old little house that we share with some Vietnamese refugees, very nice family. And you're here, and what do? You can't go back because you don't want to live through what you lived again. Now we have PTSD and we're scared, but you're here and, so my dad set us down and told us, we're here, there's no going back for now. And I need you to get education. I need you to succeed and take advantage of coming here at your younger age. Because my dad was older guy when he got married, so he was already in his 50s when we came here. So, I tell that to my kids a lot, like, you have no idea that you're already one step ahead just by being born here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very easy to look at, like, especially with the invention of social media, it's easy to look at other people's lives and think, wow, like they have it so much better than I do. And it's easy to get depressed about it. But then, like, again, we don't think about what other people in other countries have it like. I mean, if you just simply look at Ukraine and what's happening there, like when I was sitting there talking to them, I was like, wow, like this is unimaginable. Like I can't even imagine if a bomb dropped in my front yard, what would I do? Like at that point, social media, cell phones, technology, none of that matters. Nope. Fame, like none of that matters. You're just at that point focused on survival and caring for your family. Yep. And nobody knows what that's like. I mean, nobody who's gone through a situation like what you've gone through know what that's like.
Right. And I wish I can explain it, because a lot of people ask me, so how did you feel? It's just
hopelessness.
Yes, you're just there, you're existing. And you're just hoping to survive another day.
Yeah.
But everything is out of your hands.
That's one thing that, like, when I mean, because mental health in the United States is so bad right now. And, I understand, like, it's very difficult for young people to figure that out, especially with social media and their peers. They're all experiencing anxiety and depression and all this. What does that, when you see young people going through that and knowing that, like, you had to, like, go through so much in life and you just, like, not depression, like you didn't have time to be depressed. You didn't have time to have anxiety and sit there and think about it. You just had to focus on survival. When you hear about people who have anxiety and depression and they just want to I guess, have a victim's mentality and they just want to sit there on social media and not do anything to better themselves. How does that make you feel as somebody who's a survivor of a war?
Right. I try not to judge their situation because I'm not going to say, who am I to judge who mentally had it worse, I believe that mental health issue is a still big issue in USA. It's unbelievable that at this time and age we're still fighting it like it's taboo. It's people are still embarrassed to admit they're depressed, or they have issues. Or like you said, there's people, they're just on a social media not doing anything to help themselves. But sometimes help is really not available because I know when we came here, nobody offered us any therapy.
Right. Right.
We're just supposed to, I guess, figure it out.
So let me ask you this. When you came here, you said that you guys were suffering from PTSD, and rightfully so. I mean, because you were just in a war zone. I mean, oftentimes our veterans suffer from PTSD. How did you guys manage that? Because you said you didn't have the resources available.
No research. And the thing is, a lot of people, and I want to say older generation, like in their late 50s, not older, they're not that old, but in their 50s, 60s. I heard a lot, they were under the impression that once you come to America, everything is handed to you. They're just giving it to the refugees. They're just living their best life, and it is so far from the truth.
Yeah.
You're here, and you're told you're on probation for 3 months, meaning they're going to offer you 2 jobs. No, they're going to offer you 3 jobs. 2 you can turn down, third one you can take. You cannot have anything, any tickets or anything, with police. You're supposed to work. They give you Medicaid and food stamps for 3 months. That was it. So,
but would that still be better than like if you were in a different country?
Of course.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I heard so many people say to me like, "Oh yeah, they don't have money for Americans. They're not helping Americans with this and that, but they're giving money to refugees." They're under the impression like we just come here and take, and everything is like, here you go, which is not.
Yeah.
It's really tough to make it. It really is. You have 3 months, like I said, and they decide if you're, so my parents...
Who's saying that? Americans or like other people?
No, that's the government. That's the rules that was in
place.
Right.
But who's saying that if you come to America, you're just given
that's
stuff?
A lot of people. I heard a lot of people say that. I read on social media, a lot of people complain about saying, they're going to let the Pakistanis here and they're just going to give them the money and the houses and this and that just to live here. And it's not like that. There's like a lot of hoops you have to go through and prove yourself that you're worthy of, staying here.
Right.
And which is, it should be, you can't just willy-nilly have people come in here.
Right.
But it's my biggest pet peeve, and what hurts my feelings the most is when people say, it was just handed to you. All you had to do is come here, and they give you tax breaks, and they really, they're under the false impression, and they're so intimidated by refugees. They're thinking they're taking our jobs.
One thing that I found, because my family is from Honduras, and my dad is literally from Honduras, and then obviously like his siblings have come here from Honduras, and but the thing is, like, one thing I've realized, even like some of the kids that my daughter goes to school with, their parents, they've like, some of them come from India and like all these other countries. When they come here, they look at it as an opportunity, and it's kind of amazing to me because, and I'm guilty of it too. I was born here, but it's easy to take advantage of what we have and take advantage of our opportunities. Like, we know that, like, I know if I wanted to start a business tomorrow that I could, but am I going to? And most people probably won't, at least if you're American. But however, if you are like a refugee or somebody who came from a different country, you look at that as an opportunity to succeed. And most of them start businesses and they're extremely successful because they know that they don't want to go back, and they know how bad it really could be. And so they try to make their life here as best as possible.
And that's exactly what my dad told me. You're given one shot. That's it. You can either succeed or you can fail and go back, and
And really one shot for you guys, because I mean, like, for instance, if I got one shot, like, I don't really get one shot. Like, if I failed at a business, I could just redo it or figure it out. Whereas like or somebody who's a refugee, you get one shot. If you don't succeed, then you're sent back.
Right. So yeah, you kind of come here and, like I said, you have PTSD. Everybody does, I'm sure. You don't speak any English. You're sharing a house with people from different part of the world, speaking different language. You're trying to get along. You're working these factory jobs. My dad was a businessman. He was a successful guy. Now he's working in a factory, but there was the sacrifices that they and we had to, endure and take in order to be a successful American. And now I'm an American citizen, with my own house and
That's awesome.
career and, went to college, all of this stuff. And I'm just amazed because sometimes I look back and it would have been easier just to fold.
Yeah, I mean,
under the pressure, just to kind of like.
well, if you wanted to give yourself any excuse to not succeed, you could, because you're like, well, I had to witness people dying, had to witness, or I don't know if you did, but if you're in war. This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth. Like, you more than likely seen somebody die.
Yes.
And you've seen people like die of hunger, or maybe even just were murdered, or whatever it was. And that can be a crippling ailment for a lot of people. Like, if I see somebody die, I don't know how I would handle that, but I could imagine that it would affect me.
Right.
But you chose to not let that affect you and still become successful regardless.
And without any guidance or any mental help, it's easy for people to become alcoholics or,
Drown it away.
Then that's, I still have nightmares. I've been here since 1996. And, 1998, I'm sorry. And when we watch certain movies, it doesn't even have to be a war movie. I try to avoid those. But it could be something that I would never think would trigger my PTSD, and it does. It could be just one scene or something they said or the way they sound, So years and years later, I'm still in the back of my mind scared. Every time America mentions going to war, and like I said, we're pumped up because, we have the biggest army and we're such a strong country. But I'm just panicking so bad.
Yeah, because you understand the repercussions of war, and you understand what kind of effects it could have on. Now you have a son who could be drafted if we go to war, and you understand that.
It's just to me, war means killings and everything I saw. And it was so barbaric. That's what how people describe Bosnian War. It was just so barbaric. The stuff that they did was not human,
Yeah.
And that's how I picture that, every war, that's how it is. Because that's all I know. That's how I seen it.
Yeah. Well,
it scares me.
Yeah, I could imagine. No war is pretty. That's for sure.
No. Yeah.
No war.
And we watch the movies and we're amazed, because we see heroes and victories, and we play video games about, being soldiers and shooting, and all of this stuff is entertaining, but not when you live through it. Then you realize this is not a video game anymore,
Do you allow your son to play those kind of video games?
I do, and luckily he's not interested in them. It's hard to balance. I try not to, like I said, terrify them, and I try not to I also have a daughter who is 16. I try not to have them feel bad or, I just want them to know the story, and it hurts my feelings when I feel like I'm not doing enough. It's like I just want to shake and be like, do you know what I've been through? There's always going to be somebody with a bigger house or nicer car or more money. Yeah. And I try to tell my kids that's not what measures happiness. However, if you have an opportunity to be successful, you have opportunity to get a degree, to start a business, take it. It's okay to live a good life. It's okay to have a nice house and drive a nice car and go on vacation. That's all what I like to do and what my family likes to do. Don't be embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
But it's not, they take it to the extreme, like it has to be like we see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, going back to like how bad mental health is here in the United States, like it always looks like, like if somebody has a nicer house or a bigger house or a bigger car, that like they have a really good life. However, like you don't know how they are mentally or how they are emotionally. Like they might not be doing well at all.
Right.
Like, yeah, they may have all those things, but are they truly successful? Like, are they just working a job that they absolutely hate to work? Are they living in are they in this cycle of life that they cannot get out of and they don't like at all? Are they truly happy?
Yep.
And, I think it's easy to, kind of compare yourself to somebody like that. Like, oh, I want that, it's just materialism is all it is.
We're so consumed by it because it's shoved in our faces more than it ever was.
Yeah.
When you watch the YouTube videos and you have a 16 years old YouTuber influencer, showing you this fabulous life that might not be true. And it's a poison.
It really
teenagers.
is.
It's a poison to kids, and it is one of the biggest causes of depression lately.
Yeah.
We're so consumed. We want to keep up. We want to compete. We want to be those people, and show off. And the reality is completely different.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, I mean, I don't want to like brag about myself or anything, but like with our house, when we bought this house, it did not look this way. Right. And we've actively, like over the years, tried to change it. We put the stone on, resided it, did the landscaping, but it was like one of those things that, like I had a thing in my head, like, okay, this is what I want it to look like. But you work hard at trying to change that, then you have a greater appreciation for it when it's done, as opposed to like if you were to just buy into it, you bought the house and it was already like that, you don't appreciate that. Right. I think that helps so much when you work hard for something. Right. I think hard work and earning something helps with mental health. I think that I think with instant gratification, today that's a huge thing, because you see the YouTube stars, you see the famous podcasters or the famous whatever. Yeah. And you're like, wow, like it looks like they got that overnight.
Right. And Instagram models. And
yep. And, you think they're an instant success, and really they worked hard to get there. Right. And people don't realize that. But yeah, I think it's important to work hard for what you want, and then you'll truly appreciate what you do have.
Right. But it is a struggle that I hear a lot of parents also are struggling with it. Kids just being so consumed with the material things. And
absolutely. What do you think could be done about that? I mean, because obviously it's like almost like a cycle that you can't take it back. Like our kids are already involved in like YouTube. My daughter watches YouTube all the time. I say the same thing all the time. Like this is not good for her to be watching. Yep. But it's like, how do you can't stop it. No. It's a force that's unstoppable at this point.
Yeah. My husband absolutely hates social media. He's American. And he hates texting. He hates, and I think about it a lot. He's absolutely right, He complains about when we text and I argue. And he said it's just conversations are not the same anymore, then we pull out the text message and use it again, later. Like you said, it's just becoming so overwhelming. I wish, that we could control what's put on social media, but we cannot. Like you said, we're not going to change that. Yeah. So it has to come from home. We have to limit amount of the time they're spending on internet, monitor, check their phones, and check what they're, and it's easier said than done, because when you have teenagers and they're quiet for a while, you're like, okay, thank God. But then you don't know who they're talking about. I keep telling this to my daughter. nonstop. You don't know who is behind the other side.
Yeah.
It can be somebody who put a picture that looks like a 16, 17-year-old boy.
Yeah.
It could be,
Yeah.
it's a lot of danger there too. So it has to come where we as parents control the time our children spend on social media and spend on internet. And like I said, it's easier said than done because I know I failed, and
Well, I mean, it's something that there's really no path of what's right and what's wrong, and like what amount of time is right and what amount of time is wrong. Like, it's something that you got to try to navigate. And it's like, what should I watch should I allow my kid to watch YouTube or their tablet for an hour a day?
Right.
Or like, there's no like guidelines
there's no
for anything.
and it's our reality. This is not going away. It's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And kids don't play outside anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't go to the movies. Why? They can just sit home and watch it on laptop and not move,
Yeah.
They, they don't experience real life outside of the virtual world because everything is now online. Everything you can order your food, everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to ever leave the house, but you're missing out.
Yeah.
You're missing out a lot. And this is the one struggle that we are currently having in my house because my husband tells my daughter, like, you got to get out of the house. You got to, do things with us. And he's been preaching about it. He's way better at setting boundaries than I am. Like I said, I failed. But I think about what he said a lot lately, and he's absolutely right. Like, we're just using touch with reality. It gets exciting when you post a picture and you have tons of likes or people. And it can be used as a good thing, social media, for a business promotion, for me.
Even then.
Connecting with my family. It's, I can see their pictures and stuff, but there's also a lot of bad stuff happening.
Yeah, it's even then though when you could say that, well, it's really good for promoting a business. Like, I use that excuse for Facebook or for any social media. Really, I'm like, it's a really good tool to promote your business, which it is. I'm not gonna lie. However, like, when you post something, I find myself doing it all the time. You get on there like, oh, wow, like 30 new likes. What is this? Like, and then you find yourself kind of getting addicted to that.
Yeah.
And like, I just posted a video on YouTube the other day, and like I posted it, and then like within minutes I watched it just skyrocket. I'm like, whoa. And then all day I found myself like checking to see how many views I got, and I'm like, this is not good. And like,
it's almost like an addiction, like your brain releases.
Yeah, I mean, it's dopamine.
Yes, and you're just like high on life. You got, all these likes, and you're.
So my question is, like, is it negative? Because obviously, most of society is online now, and we're kind of moving to that world now.
Right.
Whereas, like, we even have like these what do you call it? You put on the glasses.
What
are they called? Yeah, the VR glasses, and you have like these fake worlds that you create, but it's almost like it's becoming like a real virtual world.
Right.
Like, would you say that that's negative, like a negative experience, or is it just like the next phase of evolution for the human being?
That's a tough one. I do believe it's negative. If you make it away, if that's all you do, and you allow yourself to kind of lose touch with reality and don't get out, go on vacation, but instead you put those goggles on and it's right there, you're in Tahiti, that's not the same experience.
Yeah.
One thing we love to do as a family, my family's travel. And those are the memories my dad told me before he died. In one conversation, he said, you can never have too much education, know too many languages, and travel too much. Because everything can be taken away. We witnessed that in the war. We had everything you could imagine and then some, and then it's poof. It's gone.
Yeah.
But what they couldn't take is, your
knowledge.
The knowledge and the memories that we have traveling together and, experiences, exactly. So that's something you take with you. And that's what I live by type,
Yeah.
But for somebody who is younger than us or than me and this is their world. That's all they know. Like
Yeah.
my nieces and my nephews, they're small kids, and they all, that's what I know. That's normal to them.
Yeah.
Just like COVID is normal to them because that's all they know, to our
Yeah.
little kids. And it's normal to put a mask on, and it's normal to,
Yeah.
So how you tell them there's something,
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is with, with like the virtual reality world or just the social media realm or technology in general, if something were to happen, like a war or something, all that goes away instantaneously, and then
And
you've wasted all this time.
and we're doomed.
We really are, because nobody knows how to
Yep.
face reality at that point. They don't know how to like they don't know how to face the
I,
world.
you know, I know it's not funny, but how many videos you see? There's a disaster going on, and people are snapping pictures and going live, and it's like I feel like that's what would happen to us if we were, God forbid, to go.
Yeah.
Like we'll be like, hey, war day 2. We're just so consumed by making sure that everybody
Yeah.
knows what every step that we are taking, and everything that's
Yeah.
happening to us, and we need society's approval, and we need strangers' approval, and that's not healthy.
I seen a TikTok video when the Ukraine and Russia war broke out, and these guys were parachuting from planes, and they were TikToking, and they were like laughing as they're falling into a war
Right.
zone. And I was like, "What is this is wild."
And that's how I feel like the younger generations, they're just so brainwashed that
Yeah.
it's such a bad thing. It's such a bad
It-
thing to be so. And then we have a lot of suicides because of the social media bullying.
Yeah.
That's another big thing. Now it's even easier. You don't have to wait till you're in school to get bullied. You come home and it follows you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's poison.
It really is.
And I really wish I knew what to say, or I wish that, but it's not going to change.
Yeah.
Not going to change. It's just the reality. So, and like I said, that's what I try to tell my kids. It's not, the life, you have it good, trust me.
Yeah. You have it really good.
Like just
My,
stop.
My question is, because you've had to go through so much struggle through your life, that you have, I would assume, a greater appreciation for life. Like, I mean, you obviously came to the United States, you have a
Right.
good life now, and I'm sure you're happy.
Yeah.
How do you manage to give your kids, I mean, because obviously you don't want to see them struggle. You don't want to see them go through the same kind of struggles you went through. But I feel like the struggles that you went through kind of help set you up for life and everything that was to come, and to, I guess, propel you to become more successful.
Right.
How do you give your kids struggle? Do you,
God, it's
It-
so hard.
yeah, it's got to be difficult.
It is difficult as a parent, It's easy to judge and to say, oh, if this was me looking as an outsider, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give my kids, Like I said, I'm just like anybody else. I failed a lot, I give in a lot. I don't know. My husband comes from a different background, and he is a person who appreciates everything, of course, and he's way better as parenting when it comes to that, to kind of like, me, I feel some kind of guilt for whatever reason, because I did grow up very privileged, and my dad did made every single dream and wish make true, and I kind of feel like I'm being dishonest if I don't do the same. But then I don't want my kids to be as spoiled as I was. And I'm saying this honestly, I never wanted to be spoiled like I was as a child. And when I was in a war, I remember sitting in a basement and telling myself, I might never eat chocolate again. Simple thing like that. I'm thinking about chocolate because I'm so hungry, but I'm like, that's my favorite,
Yeah.
I'll never eat chocolate again. And everything, like you said, everything is more appreciated now. And I'm trying to kind of convey that to my kids. And I'm working on it. They're good kids. They're starting to become little adults. And my son, he's a little independent person and earning his own money, that helps,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of, they're different. You know, I was here working since I came.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did, find a little job bagging groceries at Myers
When
for
you were
$5.
16.
Yeah.
Wow.
And going to school and taking a bus and having rides. And, you know, he doesn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to work till he's 18, you know,
Yeah.
till he got his car, till he finished his high school, you know.
Yeah.
But again, it's not their fault. So I'm kind of in their like, okay, it's not their fault that what happened to me happened, so I don't have to take it out. I'm trying to take it out on them and restrict them from everything in life. But at the same time, I know I give in a lot. So,
well, I mean, that's the good thing about having the resources that you have now available is, and that's the whole point, is like you don't want your kids to struggle as hard as you had to struggle.
right.
But at the same time, it's like you don't want them to become as spoiled. Like you don't want them to
Right.
become spoiled and take advantage of things and be unappreciative.
And that's what it is, you
And
know. That's
I think that's a huge thing in today's society, is because of the instant gratification, like the ability to just get on your smartphone and order something on Amazon and it shows up the next day. Like I know sometimes when I do that, I don't order stuff on Amazon very often because I would much rather go to the store and buy it. But if I can't get it the next day, I'm like, are you serious?
right.
Like it's one of those things that, you
And
know,
that's inconvenient to us. Like, gosh,
Yeah.
they're not going to deliver it, you know.
right.
It's going to take a couple of days. It's just,
Yeah. And I just think that, you know, like how do you change that? How do you get a kid to not, I guess, be unappreciative and take advantage of all that?
Right. How we set the healthy balance, you
Right.
know, where they can. And I think that's what it is. When they're little, we have to start telling them how long they can use the internet and kind of expose them. But us as a parents, we fail because we're glued to the phone too.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do better. We have to expose them to the real life and take them places and
Yep.
have them, you know, experience the real life, not just the virtual. And like I said, we as a parents, we're on it too. So
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to tell your kid that he can't be on YouTube or whatever it is,
Right.
you know, for more than an hour a day when you're constantly picking up your phone? And
Constantly.
you know, that's something I'm guilty of too. I
Right.
mean, I think everybody's guilty of it. You know, like it's an easy distraction. Like when you're bored for a couple seconds, just be like,
grab. You don't even
Yeah.
have to log in.
no.
You know,
Sometimes it lights up when you just grab it.
there you go. Yep. That's,
You don't even have to push a button.
I took off my Facebook a couple of times, and I read somewhere it takes 7 days to change your routine or to change your habits. Yeah. And when it started to feel good, it really did. I felt like I wasn't reaching for my phones. Like I can be in a morning meeting, you know, with 10, 12 managers, and I look around and once in a while somebody kind of picks up the phone like, oh, you know, and it's just, you're in a meeting, you know, you're like a professional sitting there and you're just thinking like, oh, somebody liked your picture, somebody viewed, you know.
Yeah.
And we respond immediately.
Yeah.
So when I took it off for a few days, it started to feel good. I felt like I was doing more, but then I went back. And just like that, I was, you know, back.
Yeah. It sucks you back in.
It does.
It's like a portal. One thing I did with Facebook, and I probably should do it again. For some reason, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's because I got a new phone and it just took it off or something, but there's a setting that you can put on Facebook, and I think you could probably do it on all the social media platforms, but you can set a timer. So whenever, like I set it for 5 minutes a day, because I figured like if you're scrolling on Facebook for more than 5 minutes, like, because the way I do it is like I'm like on there for a couple minutes, I'm like, okay, this is boring, get off. But then I find myself like 2 minutes later again doing it, and then again just like
refreshing and see what's new. And,
yeah. But I figured if you set a timer for 5 minutes a day, like that's a decent amount of time of scrolling. You can figure out like what's going on, and that helped me tremendously. I found myself like, because it would just I actually at first I would use the full 5 minutes. It would go off, and then I couldn't access Facebook anymore. But then I found myself only like using like a minute or 2 minutes a day. It was pretty remarkable. I need to do that again.
I feel like in life, anything we do in moderation is fine.
Yeah.
I believe that to be true with everything, even with religion, everything with moderation. That's actually good. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you should.
When I log in, I'm watching one video, and then 20 minutes later, I am so deep. I don't even know what I'm watching. You start watching cute dog videos, and now I'm watching a camel give birth, and, it's just, you just keep clicking the next and the next, and you're so sucked in. So that's actually a good idea.
It's a really good idea to put timers on your phone, even if you just put a timer like on your, I think there's a way you could maybe put a timer on your phone to where you're only on your phone so much. That might be a good idea too. I think as long as you're cognizant of the amount of time you're spending on it, then you're kind of aware. And if you're aware of it, you're more than likely going to try to make a difference. If you realize it's truly affecting your life and it's affecting your life in a negative manner. And that's one thing I think I actively think about that. And I think a lot of people do, like based off of conversations I've had. I think a lot of people think about the amount of time that they spend on social media and the amount of time they spend on, on their devices and whatnot. They realize that it's not beneficial to their life.
Right. But how many of us are capable of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an addiction. It's like, it's almost like smoking. Like you want to stop, and you don't like it, but it feels so good.
It does.
I can't stop.
Well, it doesn't. Till something, and it's just yeah.
And then we get like TikTok, like Facebook was pretty bad, and then now we have TikTok. And
it's watching these videos, and it gives a platform. I think what's also, really nice, it just gives a platform for regular people like us. We can just make a video, and you don't even have to do too much. Some of the videos, you watch, it's like they're so dumb, but they're funny. And you're just entertained by other people's lives. Yeah. Literally, So you don't have to be a celebrity to be popular anymore.
Yeah. Just, No, there's been people. I actually had a guy on the podcast who had like 100,000 views or 100,000 followers or subscribers, whatever you call them on TikTok. And it's easy. It's incredibly easy to get it. And it's like, that's amazing. Like that guy has 100,000 people who like him. And it would be
the stupidest video that you don't think it would get popular.
Yeah.
You can, sometimes you look at some really good videos. My son posted a few years ago a little video close up to his eye, like, and then he was like, oh my God, all these likes, and what is so entertaining about that? But, he had thousands and thousands of likes and views or whatever, and he was so excited. It's like the biggest accomplishment, and I'm like, so what's the video about? It's his eye, literally, like he's closing in, and that was it.
Wow.
But people, it's just random stuff like that.
Yeah, people are attracted to really dumb things, and it's like, but it's amusing.
It is.
Probably because we all realize that we're more alike than we're not.
Right.
And it's like, wow, that person is just like me, and they're on here like sharing it, or that's something I would do. Like, I mean, like, how many people have been bored and pulled up their camera and just like started like doing this, and they're like, wow, that's cool. And then your son just happened to record it and put it on social media, and people liked it.
Right. Well, there are like, healthy benefits running a business, staying in touch with relatives, and like you said, a little entertainment where you kind of like, okay, we're all just alike,
Yeah. Well, and I don't think like technology and social media and all this stuff is negative. I don't think it's a negative thing. It's obviously added a lot of benefits as far as like communication and being able to keep in contact with family who are like out of state or across the country or across the world. Right. Like it's connected so many people and it's helped so many people. And I think it just depends on how we use it and how we let it affect our lives. That's the negative aspect of it. It's our mental health. It's what we do with it.
Because we haven't figured out how to separate good from bad.
No.
Get it both,
Yeah.
On social media and
I think a lot of people let even if they see something they don't agree with on social media, they can't stop themselves. they have to comment and they have to like it and they have to engage. It's like, that is not healthy either. When you see things you don't agree with, it's easy to want to respond.
Because you're hiding behind, maybe you wouldn't say it if that was face to face.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
You know, but now you're like, oh, I'm in my home. What is this person in Kentucky going to do about it? So I'm just going to call him out on it. And you're arguing for 2 hours with people you never met.
Yeah, and that's not healthy.
It's not.
That's not healthy at all.
No.
Yeah, I try not to engage in any of that, but I bring that up because I also had a guy comment on, I posted on Facebook the other day because I thought it was funny. This guy commented on my YouTube video and was like, keep your garbage off my feed. And I'm like, this guy doesn't even, his name's Bob. So I shouldn't even be giving him credit on this podcast. But when
Bob
I seen
needs it.
Yeah. When I seen that, I immediately thought, well, that's a sad guy.
Right.
Like who takes their time and effort to, if they see something they don't like, to give a person a thumbs down and then comment on it. I'm assuming he had been giving me thumbs down on most of my videos because there's always one person who gives me a thumbs down on all my content. And I'm like, why would they give that that's a like a motivational piece. Why would you give that a thumbs down? But then I just think that like, that's a really sad person. Like, what is he going through? What is his life really like? And honestly, it just gave me motivation and inspiration to keep on doing what I'm doing. And if not, double down on what I'm doing.
Right.
Because obviously you're doing something right if people don't like it.
Right. But lucky for you, you have the mental strength to do so.
Yeah.
But imagine if there was a teenager who is insecure.
Right.
You know, and somebody comments.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it could be crippling.
It could be.
It could be very crippling to somebody who's not who's not as secure in who they are as a person. And imagine if it was like a friend, somebody or not a friend, but somebody they knew from school even, and they gave it a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good thing that Facebook and like the social media platforms don't have a thumbs down.
Right. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh. So many people would have complexes.
I know. We would be meeting each other in parking lots and really fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know, I don't know where it's going, but I do think that like having these kind of conversations about it and having the awareness does help. And I think it changes the way people think about things. And, you know, like somebody listening to your story and listening to you talk about this, they might be like, oh, wow, you know what? She's right. I need to restrict the time on my kids' tablets or whatever, or even my time on my phone.
Right.
You know, it could help somebody. So
hopefully. I don't know if it'll ever be any different, but you never know.
I mean, I think it's all subjective. You know, like what works for one person might not work for another. You know, like one person could probably spend 5 hours a day on their phones and be fine, whereas another person spend 20 minutes and I think it also has a lot to do with the kind of content you're taking in, kind of like, you know, you had mentioned the video games and how that affects, you know, like because you had gone through a war and you had been a survivor of that, seeing some of these things triggers and it affects you mentally and emotionally. And you know, so like if you see some content on social media that you don't that might trigger some things, you know, that obviously helps play into you know, into your mental health.
Exactly.
So it all depends on the kind of content you're taking in too.
Yep. And there's everything there, you know.
Yeah. People
just post and share, and it's out of your control what you're going to stumble across and what, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that goes to like algorithms too, which could be beneficial. You know, like if you like or you watch majority of like motivational videos or whatever, then that's the kind of stuff you're going to typically see. Yeah. So, you know, as long as you like, and if you watch like negative videos, like videos of war and videos of people dying or whatever it is, then that's the kind of stuff you're going to see, and that's going to affect you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They listen.
They do.
You ever talk about something and then your Facebook is suggesting to buy it?
Yeah, it's scary.
It is.
Did you actually, they covered this on a podcast I listened to, but they covered the terms of service for TikTok. And did you know that TikTok, when you agree to sign up for TikTok, they you're agreeing to them using your computer and any tablet that's associated with that phone. So, you know how like Facebook, for
Right.
instance, like they know like when you're looking stuff up on Google, and that's why you see some ads too. They also listen to you talk. But yeah, TikTok does that too. So
Wow.
they know like what you're looking up on. Like you may not use your kid's tablet, but it's somehow connected to your phone. So they can take that intellectual data and use that.
Wow.
It's insane.
It is.
It's very insane.
I've been staying away from TikTok, but it now comes on a Facebook
Yeah.
and a little short videos,
Yeah.
and next thing I know, I'm watching it. You know, you cannot escape.
You really cannot. You cannot. It's just you got to have some self-awareness and self-respect for yourself, and some I said self-awareness, but like some like you got to audit, like self-audit. You know, like am I is this affecting me? Am I
Yes.
doing too much of this? You know, just whatever
Yep.
it is.
Is it making me happy? You know, because
Yeah.
a lot of days for a lot of people, it affects their mood depending what they saw on a Facebook.
Yeah.
I have a coworker who said that lately a lot of her friends are sharing just negative stuff, kidnapping,
Oof.
you know, killings and shootings and drugs and that. And she said she became so depressed because people share, and you know, she's
Yeah.
looking, she's reading, and to the point where she had to deactivate her account for a few months or a few weeks and go back at it, because she said that would, you know, you can wake up in a good mood, have a cup of coffee, and then one of your friends lost somebody, and you know, somebody posted something, and it affects your mood.
Yeah.
Because you're human, you have feelings, and
Yeah.
so that could, you know.
Yeah. There's so many things.
Yep.
I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't
Me
know.
neither. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, yeah. Do what works for you, and
Yep.
and try to like actively make your life better. And it takes self auditing. You have to
It does.
realize that okay, this is not making me a better person. Like I because I do the podcast, I spend so much time on my computer and my
Right.
phone, and I absolutely hate it. Like before the podcast, before I even started this thing, I never spent that much. Okay, my wife would probably argue with you, but I never spent that much time on social media, like at least posting and trying to get likes or anything like that. But and that's when I set the timer on Facebook, because I realized like I'm on this way too much, and
Right.
so I actively try to stop that. But now it's like because of the like I use the whole promoting thing, like
Right.
like it's a good way to promote, which it is, but I spend way too much time. Even if I'm not on social media or on whatever platform I'm promoting on, I'm editing or I'm uploading or I'm typing descriptions, creating thumbnails. I'm always on my tablet or my computer.
Right.
And just even working, I mean, essentially that's working. It's not, I don't like it. It affects my moods, and it affects the way I feel. Like I have headaches all the time.
I
like
do too. Yeah.
I cannot, I don't know how people work on computers all day.
And you know, I at work I have to, because I work in a nursing home. So of course we use laptops for all the charting and everything, and it's just I get headaches too. And what I do is I started stepping out of the building for lunch, and I leave my phone, and of course computer stays. I literally do it, and I step out and I just go in my car, and maybe I'll go to Speedway or somewhere and just kind of like, you know, detach. Otherwise I'm just getting these headaches, and then I'm being moody,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't want to be moody, you know. But
Yeah, I understand.
yeah.
That's one thing I realized, like, because I used to run all the time, and detaching from like podcasts and music was super beneficial. Like if you just get outside and go for a run without headphones in, you realize like, wow, this is amazing. Like you hear the birds chirping,
Yeah.
you hear crickets, and you hear the wind blowing, and just like, wow.
Meanwhile, I'm just watching somebody exercise on YouTube while I'm having my snack. Like, oh, maybe I should try this exercise, you know. But yeah, I do believe it can be successful if you're mentally strong.
Yeah.
And if we teach our kids to be mentally strong and prepare them to be mentally strong, because if we don't, the virtual world can destroy them.
Yeah.
Can destroy them mentally.
Well, I mean, you're setting them up for failure.
So if we have those conversations, keep having conversation about a healthy amount of time and building their self-confidence, so when somebody is being a bully on a Facebook, they don't, it does not affect them to the point where they're depressed or they want to hurt themselves or they become subdued,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you're...
The only way you can build that confidence, though, is by doing things and by knowing that you're capable of being better than what other people think you are.
Yeah.
And that's generally confidence is built through like being physical, like doing something physical, like whether it's like gymnastics or working out or martial arts or playing a sport. Yes. Because then you're good at something.
Yep.
Or even music, like being a musician or whatever. Like having some sort of hobby that that you're good at helps you know that you're not a piece of crap when somebody on Facebook tells you suck.
Right.
Yep,
you gotta be, gosh. And people can be cruel.
Yeah.
People when I first got a Facebook, boy, I had things to say. When I look back at those memories, sometimes I'm embarrassed. I just want to delete it. Like, why was I so angry? What was that? But it was a new thing. It was exciting. And it gave me the feeling like if I'm going to bitch, who is going to stop me? Right. Like I'm just going to put it out there. So it's my Facebook. And now, when I look back, like what the heck was going on with me back then?
That is really funny. But that goes to show that you grew and like some people, they still do that. They started doing it when social media was new and they continue to do it. Those people I have to unfollow.
And where does the energy come from?
I don't know.
To argue and argue. And I mean, I don't know, I guess my husband would disagree with that because he'll tell me that I argue with him via text message and I have energy for that. But, you see people on Facebook arguing with different strangers every single day. Yeah. Who cares what they think, Yeah. But people can be cruel. I read some cruel comments and had people like comment on something and just, wow, like they go for a throat.
Yeah.
And if you're not mentally strong, I can see why people get depressed.
Yeah.
And all of the sudden, this opinion of this person that you don't even know matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we said before, if they saw us in a person, they probably wouldn't say things like that, but they're hiding behind the screen and it's easier to bully and to,
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one thing that for me, like doing this podcast, I had done it for over a year and I had all positive feedback from doing the podcast. Like nobody ever came at me for anything. Like people were always nice. And then I did one episode with a politician that nobody liked and I got so much negative feedback and people like were just nasty. And people in our own community, people that, are supposed to be like uplifting.
Right.
And they were attacking me. They're like, oh, he's just doing this for attention or he's, this or he's that. And I was like, wow.
And you're just doing the interview.
I was just doing an interview.
That you're siding with a person that you agree.
Exactly. And I even said, this is not an endorsement. It's just me talking to him.
Right.
And, because he could very well be a politician that we all have to, like be under or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, why not talk to him? But the thing is like people will just jump on this wagon and because they don't know you personally, or they know that they can just get away with saying it because they're not in your face. They would never say this to your face, never say that stuff.
No.
But because they're behind their screen, then they feel comfortable to just tear somebody down.
Right. Because it can be anybody or they, yeah.
It's sad. It really is. And, I try not to, I don't engage in stuff like that. Like I don't ever post anything negative, because it's not beneficial whatsoever to anybody. And I try not to I try not to engage in negative feedback on my stuff. And if I do, it's more or less me like posting like that whole Bob thing. Like, hey, I commented to him and I was like, hey Bob, thanks for the thanks for the feedback. It helped motivate me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, I know that he's going to think about that when he sees that. And also other people are going to see that and they're going to see that like, okay, he responded in a very short but positive manner. Like he didn't shoot back and say, oh, screw you, Bob,
Right.
because that's not beneficial.
No.
That's not beneficial to them. It's not beneficial to you. And it's not beneficial to anybody who sees that and reads that.
Right. Well, good for you, because I'm very opinionated, and I used to get into a lot of like, I just wanted to say what I have to say, but now I literally look at it and I'm thinking, is it worth it? The energy, is it worth? I don't even know this person, or why do I care?
Well, you're not going to change anybody's mind either.
And I stopped. You know, I don't want to waste my energy trying to prove my point to somebody who, what is the end result? Nothing really.
Right.
You know, you just wasted your time, wasted your energy. You could be doing something else. So, yeah, I like how you handled it, just
thank you.
Thanked him and moved on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not beneficial whatsoever for anybody to do.
No.
No.
But yeah, you were able to do that though, like you're mentally strong to take one negative feedback and kind of, like you said, used it to help you, motivate you. But how many kids, again, are not?
Well, I'm stronger mentally now, but if that were to happen at the beginning of the podcast, who knows what kind of effect that would have had? Because I didn't have like the positive support that I have now, like from doing it for almost 2 years. Whereas like if I started like let's say my first episode or something, that guy posted that, I'd be like, ooh,
right, like oh man,
like imagine if that was like my first amount of feedback, like that would be enough to make somebody want to stop.
Right.
And it would be enough to make me question, like, should I keep doing this?
Yep.
So like I understand how something like that could affect somebody. It's just, and not everybody has that kind of mental fortitude.
No.
But it's important to try to build that.
Yep. Take a negative and just, sometimes you just have to brush it off.
Yeah.
Really doesn't matter.
Nope, it doesn't.
But I guess Bob had an opinion. He wanted to say what he wanted to say, I guess.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Right.
Whatever. That guy can not like my stuff. That's okay. It doesn't affect me.
But he still, though, takes some time out of his day to comment
exactly.
or to, dislike it or thumbs,
Yeah.
So that makes you think, like if you don't like somebody, why are you taking time out of your life to watch it and to try to tear it down?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and based off of algorithms too, like you see the kind of you see the kind of content that you typically follow. So you're obviously watching other videos that are associated to videos like mine, and you keep stumbling across mine. So I guess if you don't like seeing garbage, stop watching garbage.
Right. But sometimes negative feedback is also beneficial.
It is.
Like any attention,
Yeah.
Sometimes that motivates more people to look and be like, okay, let me see what Bob is talking about.
Yeah.
And then you click and you're like, oh, this is actually not, I like this. So,
well, yes. And then it also helps you reflect on yourself too. Like, okay, so I've had some episodes where I talk about things and I don't necessarily like explain fully like what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to convey. And it's mainly because like, you're it's kind of awkward doing a podcast and like you're trying to like express your ideas and stuff, but it doesn't always come out the way you want it to. So sometimes it could sound bad to some people. And especially if it's like politics or something. And that's one thing, like with doing the podcast, I'm like, I just told my wife, like, I think I need to, whenever I'm talking about something that could be like controversial, is take the time on the podcast to explain fully what you're trying to convey, because like people could take that in a negative way. And I've had people say like, well, I didn't like what you said there. Even just recently on a podcast, a recent podcast, I had somebody say, well, I didn't like what he said about that. And I thought about that. I'm like, like I don't agree with what he was saying, but I agree with the fact that maybe I should try to um explain myself a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better and make myself make my opinions a little bit more known as far as what I'm trying to convey in that moment, as opposed to just stating something and just letting that go.
Right. See, to me, and this is my argument to my husband why I text, because I write better than I speak. And I feel like if I put it in a text, like
Mm,
I get everything out there. But
yeah.
if sometimes when I try to speak, it's like I want to explain something, but the words are not just coming. I don't know how,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I think it's for me, I'm that way too. It's harder to like think of the words that you want to use, but when I'm like typing something, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this sounds good.
Right. And all
um
of a sudden, like all these words are just flowing in. Like,
yeah.
okay.
But I try not to, especially when you have like autofill and stuff like that. You're like, oh, that word's good.
Yep.
um but I try not to like argue over text or fight over text because I don't think that's beneficial whatsoever. And mainly because like tone is everything. When you're trying to talk about something serious, it's like you need to be able to hear that person's voice, and they like if you could be saying something that's totally innocent
Mm-hmm.
and your husband could take it the wrong way.
And you know what? That's exactly what he's been trying to say for a while. You know, you might not think it this way, but just when he's reading, it comes across, oh, is she, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing that I guess I have to work on is to speak more. You know, I cannot sit here and judge people spending time on social media arguing. Then I cannot, you know,
Yeah.
unlike texting my husband and arguing, you know, doing everything that he is absolutely right about. You know, you
Yeah.
just either wait till I'm home or call me
Yeah.
because this is
Well,
just not.
and it just affects the rest of your day too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get into a little fight when you're at home and you're going to work, and then
Mm-hmm.
you got to go the rest of your day like festering, like, oh, I should say this, and then
Right.
you start typing it, and then you send it, and then now you're in this little feud back and forth. Like
And then, yep.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
One thing I think I've tried doing just recently, because I used to get into like little arguments with my wife over text, like I don't want to argue with you, but I just want to say this
Right.
type of thing, you know? And then it just, obviously it's like argumentative in a sense. So like now what I try to do is, I try to mention, like, I understand the way you're feeling, and, I'm sorry that you feel that way or whatever it is. And then I explain that, you know, I love you and I'm whatever. And then I want to talk about this, or let's talk about it later or something like that. But like, I want her to know that I love her regardless. That way she's not like all day, like thinking about like he's a freaking asshole.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this, I want to say that, I want to say this. Cause I just feel like if you leave things on a bad note, for one, you don't know what could happen, you know, to that person. But like, you don't want that person's day ruined either,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's definitely damaging. And then you
Yeah.
pull the message back and you read it, reread it. The person is not there to defend it, you know. So
Yeah.
in my head or my husband's head, he's reading it like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I,
not.
I work in a factory, and so it's monotonous. It's the same thing over and over and over. You put a couple parts on a car, then you go to the next car. You put a couple parts on the car, you go to the next car. It's the same thing over and over. So it's mindless. And so it's easy to get into, and she works there too.
Okay.
So it's easy to get into a cycle of like just festering on your emotions and the
Yeah.
things that were said maybe the night before. And then you just start like, I've caught myself doing it. That's why I'm saying it, is like I've caught myself like in the middle of a text and it's like a paragraph long or 3 paragraphs long or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you realize that like this is not beneficial. It's affecting my day. It's affecting my coworkers around me. They see that I'm upset, and then it's also affecting her because they know, like, her coworkers see that she's upset, and then she's not having a good day. Like, I don't know. I guess I see the way it affects me, and I'm like, I don't want it to affect her that way too. So I try to like apologize for what I did wrong, mention what I did, but then also reassure her that I love you.
Right.
And it seems to work.
Oh, well, good.
She's gonna be like, not. She's gonna listen to this podcast, and she's gonna be like, I
nope.
see what you're doing. We're not gonna do
Yeah.
this anymore. We're gonna fight. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's something I really have to work on, and I do think about. I'm just stubborn,
Yeah,
But I do
everybody
think
is.
about that, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's just unnecessary, and especially when like you said, you're busy at work. He's a tattoo artist, and like in his break when he maybe goes out, smoke a cigarette, imagine pulling out this whole paragraph, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then sets the tone for his day. And it is definitely something that I've been trying to work on.
Yeah.
And realize within myself, like, you gotta sometimes admit that your husband is right. Darn it.
You don't even have to admit somebody's right. I mean, you just have to essentially just humble yourself a little bit to just be like, I love you.
Right.
Or like, it is difficult. It is very difficult when you're in the middle of a fight to just be like, I love you.
Right.
Just so you know, I love you.
Because you have a point to prove and you
Yeah.
just like fired up.
But it changes the tone and it changes the narrative because you know that, okay, now I guess and for me, maybe it has something to do with the fact that I've had abandonment issues. Like, like I was taken away from my mom when I was a kid. It could be that. It could be the fact that, like every time I get into a fight, maybe I'm worried that she's just going to leave me or something. Yeah. But like, if you say, I love you, now you have a new baseline. Okay. I love you. Now we're coming from here and we can work on our issues from there. And, yeah, I think that like even for somebody like you, because you said you work in a nursing home, so I'm assuming you care for patients.
Yep.
So would it be beneficial to them if you like were like fighting with your husband and on bad terms? Because then now you're like your mental capacity is somewhere else.
Exactly.
So I try to look at it in that aspect too.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I'm stubborn, so it's hard for me to admit when he is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he is, and yeah, it definitely sets the tone for the day.
Yeah, it really does.
Especially if you start early in the morning bickering, know.
Yeah, there's been a few times like with my wife and I, because we work the same shift, we literally live the same life. Like we drive to work together, we do everything together. So it's like, if we're not on good terms, is life rough? You got to have that silent ride to work. And, sometimes she wants to talk about it and I'm not ready to talk about it.
Right.
And so, it's just one of those things like you got to have have your space and you got to allow yourself to kind of set the tone for yourself for the day before you even handle those situations.
Right.
That's how I am. I can't talk about it first thing in the morning because it ruins my day. And that's obviously by choice. I allow it to ruin my day, but
it's different for women. Trust me, we can. As soon as we open our eyes, like, okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready to go to war.
I remember what you said 10 days ago. Yeah.
That is so funny.
So you just celebrated anniversary, right?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
5-year marriage, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I joked with her last night. I think maybe my kid said something about like, how long, like, are you guys going to be married or something? They're young. They don't know.
All right.
And she's like, forever. I was like, whoa. Let's not take it too fast. Like, let's take it in 5-year increments. We'll go another 5 years and then reassess.
Yeah.
Just joking. But
right.
No, yeah, it's been great. It's been, our relationship's been pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. You definitely learn, the longer you're in a relationship with someone, you just learn like how to become a better person. Some people don't. Some people allow their relationships to get worse, or they allow themselves to become, I guess, I don't know. They fight more, or they like allow themselves to get upset easier, and like it's difficult. Like being married can be very difficult, but if you have like the right kind of mindset and you want to like always like progress, then, and you both want to progress, then.
And that's the key.
That's the key.
It has to be both,
Yeah.
It takes both people to to be in a marriage but only want to
try.
leave,
Yeah.
and it's the end. So
Yeah. Both have to try.
yep,
Yeah. And if you don't try, then that is the end.
that
If one of
is
them isn't trying.
right.
Yeah.
And there's always ways, there's help out there. There's marriage counseling,
Yeah.
couples counseling.
I don't agree with marriage counseling,
You
though.
do not.
I do not.
Why?
I think it's set up for failure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I never heard anybody say that. Why do you think so?
Well, I've gone to marriage counseling before.
Okay.
And I don't think it's beneficial. My wife and I actually just talked about this recently because I don't know why we talked about it, but I just remember like when her and I went to marriage counseling, they're asking you like what's going on, and you tell them your perspective, and then they ask her what's her perspective, and then you guys fight the whole time. It's set up for failure. Like if you both go in there with a mindset that you want to like work some issues out, obviously it can work. However, most of the time when people go in there, they go in there not wanting to do it, because there's generally some sort of issues going on. And one person might say like, this is what's going on. The other person might say, no, this is what's going on. And then you fight the whole time. And then you got to go home with each other. And then they tell you to come back next week and let them know how it went. And it's like, I don't necessarily see how it's beneficial. This is real quick before you say something. This is my perspective of making things better. Is like, you got to figure out what's wrong with you before you can try to figure out what's wrong with your relationship. Because once you realize that you're messing up in certain areas, and you try to actively fix that, you will become a better person. And then that person will become a better person if they're also trying. And then that makes your marriage better.
It does. Yeah. But with any counseling, you have to just go in there and be completely honest. And
Absolutely.
a lot of us are now willing to do that. Like, why should I admit I was guilty? And,
right.
But all depends on the therapist. Some of them don't allow for arguments,
Yeah.
Me and my husband went and had some marriage counseling, and the therapist would not at all allow to bicker. Like, he would stop the therapy. He was like, this is one expensive fight if you want to continue,
Right.
But, you have to go in there with willing to kind of expose yourself. But I like what you said. You have to work on yourself first.
Yeah.
You really do individually, before you can fix, And some marriage counselor will point that out, that you have to work on yourself, and this is the areas.
Right.
I'm big therapy supporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it all depends on the therapist too. But
I think therapy is really good. I just don't think that I don't think marriage counseling is necessarily the best way to go when you have an issue with something. Like, most of the time when there's an issue, it's because one person's doing one thing and then the other person has a problem with it,
right,
and it's affecting their relationship. And if you're a person who truly wants to fix the situation, you will seek the help, and you will try to fix yourself, or seek the help to try to fix yourself. And that's one thing like I realized when we went to marriage counseling, is that it didn't work for us. The marriage counseling didn't work for us, because we would leave, and then now we'd be in a bad mood for the rest of the week, and we'd treat each other like crap for the rest of the week, and it just wasn't beneficial whatsoever. If anything, it made things worse. And so, and it could have something to do with the fact that like I wasn't willing to try to be open-minded about it. I don't know what it was, but it could be, it could have been me. But when I went to therapy on my own afterwards and talked about some of the things I had gone through in life and worked out my own issues, it made me a better person. And then it made my relationship better. Right. And it made me have a greater appreciation for our relationship. And like, it just was way more beneficial than the marriage counseling. And
sometimes it's hard to even admit some things in front of your spouse,
Yeah.
Compared to going alone.
Yeah.
Because it could be intimidating. Like, okay, I'm going to bear my feelings out here, and they're going to see my weaknesses. And, so I can see, I really liked it that you said that you worked on yourself. And
yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And again, that goes back to the self-analysis. Like you have to realize that like I don't like the person I am and I need to actively try to figure out why I'm this way and then try to change it because you're not just going to change.
No.
You know, you can't just change like that. Like you need somebody to help kind of guide you, put things into perspective and then give you the tools that you need to become a better person or to strive harder at things or figure out what your life goals are, you know, whatever.
Next time.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not that easy, you know.
No.
We all wish it, but really it does take a lot of time to actually execute the idea.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't know, like in today's day and age, you see so many like the divorce rate's extremely high and it makes you wonder like do those people do that? Are they self-analyzing? Are they realizing that okay, the problem in the relationship's me or this is the part of the relationship that person doesn't like. I'm doing this that person doesn't like and then it eventually just causes us to get a divorce. Are they just taking the easy way out or are they like actively trying to, because at some point they loved that person, right? Like at some point they cared about that person enough to want to marry them,
right?
More than likely. And it's like when things got hard, did you try or did you just give up?
Right. And I feel like a lot of people do take an easy way out because it's easier now than it was ever, you know.
Yeah.
And people used to really fight to stay married. And now I'm not saying to stay in abusive relationship like people,
No,
some
that's
people
different.
do. But I feel like we just easily give up to, you know.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, the grass always looks greener on the other side. Like you think, oh well, if I just divorce this person, I can find somebody different who's better.
Right.
You know, but that person may have a whole different set of problems, or you might be bringing a whole different set of problems to the next relationship.
Right. Exactly. If you didn't fix yourself in your first one, the one or whatever, then you're just kind of transferring everything to the next one, and you're gonna continue with issues. And unless you change yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it goes back to self-analysis and being self-aware and just actively trying to become a better person.
You know, life shouldn't be so complicated. You just make it, you know?
Yeah. It's unfortunate because, like, I do know people that are really good people, but it's almost like it's almost like they're a victim of themselves. Like, they put themselves in situations that purposely, like, affect their lives in negative ways. It's like, I know you're a good person. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, people are just, people just do things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. It becomes harder and harder to see yourself and admit your faults. And I don't know why, you know, I'm guilty of that and I see that a lot. We just, you know, it takes a lot of courage to say you're wrong and say you're sorry. And I don't know, I guess we all need help. We all need Dr. Phil. I actually just watched one of the Dr. Phil's episode where he said, if you're leaving a marriage and you look back and you tell yourself you have tried everything and your heart feels at ease, then you're ready.
Wow.
And that kind of makes sense because sometimes we just walk away or we just, you know, without really putting any work in it.
Yeah.
And then there's a grieving process and we're sad and, you know, but if you really worked on everything that you could and you feel like, okay, I gave it all and you're at ease, then you're ready. Yeah. But how many people do feel that way before they walk away, you know?
That brings me back to like how many people try because like, obviously like bad relationships, you know, can occur over like years and you get into this pattern. But if that other person sees, you know, like let's say they're not trying and you're not trying, but then you like actively make a choice that I want to be a better partner. I want to have a better relationship. That person's more than likely going to notice that. And if they don't, then I guess you tried. You've tried everything. Like if you've tried to become a better person and they're just like still like standoffish. But generally when you see, like if I see my wife trying to be a better person and she wants to do something nice for somebody, I'm like, yeah, like that makes me feel good. Like I'm on board, you know, and I want to actively be better too. And it's yeah, I don't know. So it's like, did you try?
Do you feel like marriages have become disposable
Absolutely.
in relationships?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think so too. You know, like I said, I feel like people used to fight uh, harder, you know, and
Yeah.
forgive more than we do now.
Yeah. Well, especially here in the United States. I don't know how bad it is in other countries. Um, but it seems like obviously it's socially acceptable to just get a divorce.
Right,
Like it's so easy to. I mean, within 6 months you can be single
right,
again.
right.
But even in like just dating relationships,
Mm-hmm.
like I had a friend who was kind of talking to a girl, and there were some things that he didn't like about her, and they were just like minute things, like things that didn't even really matter. Like to me, I'm like she had a dog or something. He doesn't like dogs. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember. There were some other things too. Oh, like she didn't have a car. She just rented a car, and like she just drove this rented car every week or whatever. And I'm like, that's
Okay.
that's a deal breaker for you. Like for me, that's like I look at that as like a way to possibly, like, if I get into a relationship with her, to try to like maybe help her, like to try to talk her into maybe buying a car instead,
Right.
or instead of wasting money on a car that's not hers. Or it's not a deal breaker, but it's like it's so easy to just be like, I don't like this about that person, and
Yeah.
then try to find something else.
Yeah,
And
it is. And hence the social media, you know,
yeah,
you can just look and
yeah,
I mean, you don't even have to leave the room to cheat anymore.
no,
You know, leave the house
yeah,
because I do believe the mental cheating is same as physical, you know.
yeah,
I even think it's worse when you like um, telling somebody something so intimate about your life and sharing who is not your spouse. I feel like that hurts worse, you know, because that should be our conversation. That should be what I know about you, you know about me.
right,
And then it's so easy for people now when you mad at your partner to hop on a Facebook, and I'm sure there's some exes and some people that, you know, wanted to
yeah,
talk to you, and just kind of you find yourself pouring your emotions out and
yeah,
becoming emotionally, um,
vulnerable
yeah,
to that person.
and attaching yourself to the person, and
Yeah,
that hurts. You know, I there's a lot of situation that I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I open up her or his phone," and you know they're hurt when they read the messages.
do you
And
think that that I'm glad you mentioned that. Do you think that's a good thing, to go searching through somebody's phone?
you know what? It's never a good thing to do that. um, but if you don't, you know, it is not. But there's if the person did something wrong, and if the other person makes more secure to look through the phone for a while, I don't know, I guess I would do it, you know, like here
Yeah,
there's nothing to hide.
right.
But at the same time, you know, people can look at it like, so you don't trust me, like this is something private, this is something, you know,
Uh,
and you want to go, I don't know, I don't think it's ever a good idea, because you're always going to find something you don't like. I mean,
yeah,
we can get upset over, you know, significant other liking a picture of somebody else,
yeah,
you know, and next
yeah,
thing you know, you're arguing like, why are you liking her picture? You know, who is
right.
she? And
Yeah,
so I don't think it's good, but you know, I never have a problem. Of course, my husband never asked for that. He would never, you know, I would snoop through his phone in a second, you know, and
that's
there's
why
nothing to find, but you know, um, but yeah, I don't think it's a good idea
I
because you
don't think
will.
it's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the whole healthy and technology thing, like you said, you will always find something that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not healthy to want to actively search through somebody's phone,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're searching through somebody's phone, you're looking for something.
All
And
right.
like if you're looking for something, you're going to find something.
Find some exactly.
And like you said, it could be something as simple as liking a picture, or
Mm-hmm.
who knows?
Or
Who knows?
somebody said hello even though you didn't respond. It could you'll
Yeah.
find
Why is she
something.
messaging you?
Yeah.
Or why did he message you?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. It's so easy. I used to do that. I used to sneak through my wife's phone when we first got together, and like it was not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. In fact, that was one thing she would complain about, is because like she'd feel fine with me going through her phone, but then like I had a lock on my phone. She didn't know the password. Not that I was hiding it, but just like I had a lock on my phone. Now, like I don't have any locks on my phone. You can just swipe it up. Somebody steals my phone, I'm screwed.
Yep.
You know, like they got everything. But I don't think like if you're in a relationship, it should be like this personal thing necessarily. Like that's my personal property, it's private stuff.
You have to make your significant other feel so secure that they don't feel like they need to grab the phone. You know, I guess we all go through insecurities. I went through insecurities a lot, especially my husband being a tattoo artist, and you know, he's working mostly with female clients, and there's a jealousy, of course, and I would want to look through his phone, but after a while not finding anything, and after him actually showing me that he wouldn't, you know, do anything, and there was, you know, I stopped. I don't even feel the need to, you know, touch his phone or anything like that. It doesn't.
And how does that make you feel as like his significant other who's like, can I go through your phone? Can I look at your phone? Can I look, you know, like that can't feel good.
It doesn't.
You know, like wanting to search through somebody's phone. Like if I wanted to look through my wife's phone, I don't think I would feel good about that.
Right. It doesn't.
You know?
It makes you, you know, exactly. You're just putting yourself down type, like, then they accuse you of being insecure, and now you're defensive, and it's just,
and you kind of give them a reason to hide things. I don't think it's a good thing, even because I guess I'm under the philosophy if somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it regardless.
Yep.
And you looking through their phone is not going to change anything. You know, it might help you in that moment to feel better, but also it's also beneficial to have conversations, to like if you see somebody looking at something, like, hey, what are you looking at? Who is that?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But to, I guess, like even if like, you're sneaking through somebody's phone, I don't think that's healthy.
Right. I just don't think there's a female on earth who hasn't done it. You know, you just want to see.
Yeah.
But like I said, I went through that phase because I was just like, he just has so many clients, you know, and all of that. And like I said, it took him just kind of proving to me like I'm not doing anything wrong. So, and then you reach that, you know, stage like I don't even care anymore, you know, like not, you know, I'm like so secure, and you made me feel so comfortable that I don't even think about going through your phone anymore. So
and that's important.
I think that's our job as a significant other to, if the person is insecure, to
make them secure,
make them feel secure. But some people don't, you know, like you have those people that just regardless what you do, they're always insecure. But a lot of solutions would be, you know, we naturally become defensive. So you want to look through my phone, and now I'm you know, defensive. I'm hurt. Like, why? How dare you think I'm doing something? And now he's you know, person is thinking, oh, she's hiding or he's hiding something, and it's just escalate, you know.
Right. So. Yeah, and it just creates trust problems. You know, and then trust problems, like if you can't trust me, then why are we doing this? Or you know, like if I can't trust you, then what's the point? Or if we can't trust each other, then we're just gonna do whatever we want anyways.
If you're not doing anything, just let the person look through, and after a while, you know, they're gonna stop. Hopefully, you know.
Hopefully.
If you're not doing anything really, like what are you looking at? Nothing. There's a lot of people also that share husband and wife have the same Facebook. That's kind of funny to me.
I think that's I don't think that's a good move.
No. It's, you know, my people and his people are not the same, and then you have all this, you know, why is just, I never understood that, and I see that a lot. There's like a couple, they have a Facebook together.
I remember when I was younger, I had a Facebook with my ex-girlfriend. It was the dumbest thing ever. I was young and dumb, but yeah, I don't think it's a good move, you know, because like you need to have, like we mentioned the whole privacy thing with your phone, like, but that is a sense of privacy. You know, when you have your profile, for instance. You go to your profile and you see like somebody's accomplishments, like where did you go to school, like how old you are, whatever it is. Like it's almost who you are as a person in the social realm. And so like when you have the two people, it's kind of weird. It's a weird dynamic. You don't, and like if you have a friend who wants to get a hold of you, they don't know who they're messaging.
Yep,
you know?
and makes you think like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
what happened?
Yeah.
Like you look at a couple, like something must have happened for you.
He must have cheated on her.
Yeah, that's just the mentality of people. We immediately assume something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy must have commitment problems.
Let's have a Facebook together.
Yeah, I don't think it's good. Like if you have to force something publicly in order to trust somebody, then it's more than likely not going to work out. You know?
Yeah.
Like if you have to tell your significant other, you can't have your own Facebook because I can't trust you and we need to have a social media together, then if you can't trust them in that aspect, then is it really going to work out?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because there has to be like some sort of baseline trust.
I agree.
You can't force it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not there yet, luckily. I don't think I could ever share a Facebook.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like part of your world. Like, your privacy. Sometimes you want to gossip with your best friend.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Sometimes your girlfriend might reach out to you and confide in you. And, it's not necessarily something for your husband to see, like I wouldn't want to see my wife's messages between her and her friends.
Right.
Like, doesn't matter. Yeah.
I agree.
Is there anything else you want to mention? We've been going for almost 2 hours. This was a great conversation.
Yeah. No, I just enjoy, I always wanted to do a podcast. And me and my husband watch on Hulu, it's called Only Murders in a Building. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh my God, it's so cool. So it's about a podcast and murders in a building. Selena Gomez is in it. It's really good. And you should check it out. I think you and your wife would enjoy it. And I was like, I would actually do this, except when I realized how much work it takes. It's not just like get on it. It's like a full-time job.
It really is.
So it's awesome.
It's one of those things that you could do it if you wanted. And you can do it as much as you wanted or as little as you wanted. But like if you truly want, because the podcasting space is very difficult to try to navigate. Like if you want to like take it to the next level, it's like you almost have to constantly be, it's like posting on social media. Like if you want to become like TikTok famous or like Instagram famous or whatever it is, like you always have to be kind of posting and in the algorithms and whatnot. And it's one of those things like you just constantly got to be doing it and posting something or whatever. So like that aspect can be a full-time job.
All right.
But like if you just want to do it for fun, like you can do it. You can do it from your phone.
Right.
Anytime you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about it, but thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
I thought about even for the podcast doing like some sort of special episode like every now and then of like maybe just a special guest or something, and making it just like a private podcast for just like the listeners, like because there's this thing called what's it called? It's Patreon. So like if people pay for your podcast, they like essentially subscribe, then they get like a special episode or something. They get like content in exchange for it, like special content. So I thought about doing like guests, like a special guest type podcast. I don't know how I would do that, but if you would be interested in something like that, and you wouldn't mind coming here and doing like a special episode every now and then, that would be fun. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Like we talked about we just talked about normal things, like the whole like going through your phone thing.
Right.
Like that's something that so many people do, and I think that it's so common, but it's not necessarily something that's talked about very often. So like talking about things like that, like that was fun. That was like
it
was
it just makes you relate to people more. Like, okay, I'm not the only one psycho
Right.
out there
Right.
who's going through my, husband's phone. Just kidding. But I love to talk. So yeah, definitely. If you
Okay.
ever want to have somebody come, I'm here.
Okay.
I can talk.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing
Yeah.
this. This was a lot of fun, and
was, for sure.
you will for sure be back.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.